It's been a staple of boulangerie, cafes and breakfast tables across France for generations. The humble croissant is synonymous with the country.
But Parisian bakers are now challenging tradition, also addressing climate change. And they're doing it by making the pastry without using any butter. Not an all-butter croissant anymore. Our correspondent Andrew Harding has been looking at the story.
The French, as we know, take their food and all its traditions seriously. Almost like a religion. So, what to make of this? In a Paris bakery, something close to sacrilege. C'est bon?
Bah ouais, c'est bon.
It's a croissant made entirely without butter. Like everything else on sale here. The baker responsible says his vegan business is booming.
Flaky? Yes.
One small portion of a much bigger struggle to shake up French food culture and to address climate change.
We have to adapt a little bit French food.
But it must be a steep mountain to climb in a country like this.
A lot.
Very difficult.
Yes, well, very difficult, but it is changing.
But that change is messy. Dairy farmer Sophie Lennart has spent much of the past few months on huge protest marches, leaving her pampered dairy herd to demonstrate against cheap foreign imports and against new EU rules to tackle climate change. As you can imagine, Lennart's is a big fan of butter in her croissant, but she is worried about the future. I have grandchildren, she says, so I want what's best for the planet, but you can't just blame everything on farmers. In her view, people need to eat local produce to cut out the big multinational firms taking all the profits.
Transforming French food culture is going to take a long time, but there are plenty of people leading the way in bakeries, on farms and in high-end restaurants like this one.
In her kitchen, chef Manon Fleury has already made waves for hiring almost only women, challenging a still male-dominated industry. But she's also trying to nudge her customers away from meat, tackling another culinary tradition head-on.
French tradition is quite heavy, so sometimes we need to have some, like, radical ideas to change.
A little revolution.
Yes, kind of.
But these Parisians are not yet ready for another revolution. They've come to judge the city's croissants, every pastry rich with dairy butter.
All that buttery flavour going into it, and that's what makes it wonderful and dreamy.
The vegan version, not even under consideration. Andrew Harding, BBC News, Paris.
Look at that.
Looking at these, Roger, I'm looking at these.
I know, well, he had a really sharp knife to cut those croissants. We've got this really blunt thing here, so we could... Marta Wanat is here. She's a vegan baker. We're going to destroy them in a minute. I'm so sorry. Because they are magnificent. How do you get...
I'm sorry, I was trying to avert my eyes, but I can't.
What do you use in place of butter to get a result that looks as fantastic as that?
So what we called in a pastry world, it would be just a margarine. You just have to find the right one, because not all of them will be suitable to do it. They can break the dough, they might not be so tasteful. So it was a very long journey to actually find the right one.
Practice makes perfect for any chef, doesn't it? So in France, only 1% of people are vegan. It's different in the UK, though. Are you feeling a growing market?
Oh, it is, definitely. Yeah. But it's not only vegans. I think loads of my customers are having loads of lactose intolerance. And they coming a lot. And I think the other part, it's all about sustainability and about the animals. So there's loads of people who are actually non-vegans.
And it's interesting here, one of them, I don't know if you can see it at the back, but shall I turn it, actually? Let me just turn this around. It's a chocolate croissant, pain au chocolat. Yes. But it's actually, everything's chocolate, isn't it?
I feel like you're pushing them further away from me.
It is, yes. So
I've never seen a croissant that actually has chocolate in the dough.
Yeah, so it's a bit of the cocoa in the dough, so I think Personally, it looks nicer.
Yeah.
It's more appealing, and then a bit of the chocolate ganache on top, some caramel, and a toasted pine nuts, just for extra taste.
There was a time when vegan food had a reputation for being devoid of flavour, that it was kind of derogatory to talk about vegan food, but now the bar is really high.
It is getting there, but still you can find people just passing by saying, wow, it looks great, but I won't buy it because it's vegan, because it's still in the mind, right? It's tasteless, it's dense, it's not as nice, but then when they try, it's like, oh, actually.
So what you're saying
really
is
lovely.
we should try it.
Just
is that what you're saying, Marta? Come on then.
Just try it.
You talk to Marta and I'll
talk to Marta. And are you seeing... What's the name of your business? You're in Leeds, aren't you?
Veganlicious.
OK, Veganlicious. Are you seeing, in terms of the turnover that you're doing, that people are adopting vegan food?
And more, yes.
Yeah.
So a great example, I'm doing some markets recently, and there were some couples coming through and, they don't want to do it because it's vegan, but then one of them decided, right, let's go for it. And then I've got lovely messages saying, oh, my God, it's the best croissant I've ever had, vegan or non-vegan.
Is that
It looks very
cream in the middle?
It's got pistachio cream.
But if the French can do this, I mean, someone was saying earlier on that a croissant is not originally French, which I didn't know. I don't know if that's true.
Well, enjoy.
But if the French adopt it, then, there's no reason... Is it good? Don't speak with your mouth. It looks amazing. Nina's going to try and work her way through that in the next 3.5 minutes. So, in terms of the bake and everything else, is it exactly the same? You bake for the same amount of time, or
it is? Yeah. So it's a very long process. It takes around 48 hours before we get to these results. It's all about the dough, finding the right ingredients and the ratio in the dough, and then resting the dough before making the folds, and then resting between the folds, and then resting croissants before they will actually get proof. And they make sure you don't overproof them, and they bake. And here we are.
The proof is in the pudding. I don't pretend to have the sophistication of a Parisian palate, but I would not know the difference.
Really?
Really wouldn't. Should I get some for you?
No, that's all right. I'll have some in a minute. I don't want to eat them on my mouth.
And what would you say to people in France? Because they do hold on to the tradition, they do hold on to their culture, and lots of people respect France for it. What would you say to people saying, I don't want to branch out to vegan food?
I would just suggest just to try.
Yeah.
Just give a little bit of benefit of the doubt and try it. Try to adopt it. It might change a lot of lives, to be fair, and we might have a wider choice everywhere. Not only for vegans.
Yeah, because of the environmental impacts. With my consumer journalist hat on, would this cost more than a non-vegan product on the high street? Yes.
A tiny bit. Yeah. Because now when we think about that and this replacements of double creams and cream cheese, it's much more pricey in the shops and to buy than a regular one, and I think this is why they cost more. Because with the dough, we can now actually bake at the same price as the regular ones. However, with everything that's coming in it, it's still much more expensive.
And just
it's a treat, isn't it? It's not something you're going to have every day.
Just in a quick sentence, what other things, desserts and things, are popular without butter?
Without butter?
Well, vegan alternatives. What's popular that in your experience?
I mean, to be fair, at the moment there's a massive boom on the croissants. I don't know why, but it is everywhere. And still, I think brownies are still like on top of everywhere.
Marta, you can come again. You can come every day, in fact.
Thanks, Marta. Marta Wanat.
Thank you so much.
Well done for restraining yourself.
I'm going to have some now. And I think we're going to get stampeded by our production team.
Hold them back at the door.